Well, I would say we are concerned about this waiting list, but I'd also say it's not a problem for the federal government to solve alone. I would note that in every budget, we've increased our funding for the Ryan White program, including the ADAP program. We just provided emergency support for ADAP. Now, I know some people in the community were hoping it's more, but think about this. This was an unprecedented action that we took to say there's a serious crisis, and we reallocated funding for it because we're so committed to responding. But again, this isn't a problem that was created by the federal government, and we can't solve it alone. We do need states to remain invested in funding their ADAP programs. We need our pharmaceutical partners. We need foundations and others to step up. It's something collectively we need to address this crisis to be successful.
In fact, the administration has reprogrammed or recommitted about $42 million. That's coming online the middle of this month. Still short of the $126 million that NASDAQ says is needed. Is there any chance that as this crisis continues to grow, that the administration might find more money that can be reprogrammed?
Well, you know, the administration doesn't really allocate money like that. Congress enacts a budget and tells us how to spend money. And within narrow parameters, we're able, because this was an emergency, to reprogram fundings. But it's really Congress's job to allocate funding. Now, it's something, as I said, we're committed to doing. We're committed to working with Congress to find the resources going forward.
In fact, some on the Hill, on the GOP side at least, a few of them, have suggested that money be diverted from stimulus funds. Mm-hmm. I presume the administration doesn't support that approach.
We don't. We think that we made important investments through the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, and those investments need to continue. HIV is a pressing need, but there are lots of pressing needs in this country, so we don't think it's beneficial to rob from one needy group to another.
But you think the administration, I'm sorry, that Congress should step forward right now? It's the ball is in their court in terms of more emergency ADAP funding. I
think Congress's job is to set funding levels, and you know they're working on their budget for next year. But I would also say the ball really is in the state's court. This crisis, yes, we're testing more people. Yes, we have more people living with HIV. But the reality is this crisis is largely driven by state cutbacks, and we need states to stay invested in funding our programs. We've been encouraged recently. Illinois, it looks like, is taking emergency steps to avoid a waiting list in their state, and we need those type of actions are really what are going to help us get out of this. That, you know, ADAP is not something that the federal government can shoulder alone. It's a shared responsibility. The federal government must do its part, but states and others have to do their part as well.
It's got to be frustrating for you, though. I mean, at this moment in time, you've just released the National AIDS Strategy, very well received in the community, and yet you have this looming crisis. Does it not contradict with one of the central visions of the strategy, which is that everyone should have unfettered access to health care?
You know, I think the president would say he came into office and had to do lots of things he didn't want to do. He had to pull us back basically from a global depression, but he's trying to take steps now to strengthen our economy for the short term and the long term. He's just enacted comprehensive health reform. As you know, that's going to fundamentally expand access to health coverage for people with HIV. So yes, we're not in the place I would like us to be. You know, I could, if I could create my own world, yes, we'd have more resources. But I know we're doing the hard work every day. The president's showing day in and day out that he prioritizes HIV. And we're going to have to struggle through till we get health reform fully implemented. It's going to be a challenging few years.